So a little bit about myself. I was born in Monrovia. My family is from Maryland. The Cummings actually from all over the counties. Some are from Upper, some from Plebo, some from a little small town called Wickham in Maryland County, Callaway district. Some of the Cummings also settled in Nimba in the Tapeta area. I think there used to be a SD Cummings High School in Tapeta. But I was born in Monrovia at Old Government Hospital. I grew up in an area called Point Four. If you're familiar with Monrovia, around Lukuta and that part. I never moved to Fiamma. Grew up in Fiamma as well. I went to elementary school at demonstration school on Clay Street. Then I went to Xavier. Then I went to Cuttington. After 2 years, I came to the U.S., finished undergraduate school, went back to Liberia, worked at LBDI as an analyst. Then I came back for graduate school, and while trying to get some work experience, the war broke out, and so it was difficult to go back to live permanently, but I was always in and out of the country. I started my career with the Pillsbury Company in Minneapolis, so I think we got somebody here from Minneapolis as well. I guess that's even further away. But he's here for work.
Then Windsor.
Then Windsor, correct. And I worked with Pillsbury for 15 years. When I left, I was Vice President of Finance for Pillsbury International. Then I joined the Coca-Cola company. I ran our business in Nigeria. Then I ran half of Africa from Nairobi, and then all of Africa from London, and then from Johannesburg. And then my last job at Coca-Cola I was based in Atlanta at headquarters, and I had responsibility for almost all the global functions around the world. So I had responsibility for strategy for the company, for human resources for the company, for the legal function, for information technology, IT, for all of the technical functions. So R&D, procurement, manufacturing, quality, secret formula. There is a secret formula. The foundation. So I kind of ran all of that for 8 years. And then in 2016, I decided I wanted to enter politics. I felt I'd been blessed with a lot of experiences that I wanted to bring to bear to help our country. And so I entered presidential politics almost 18 months exactly before the elections. So not a lot of time. But we didn't do too badly. We came in 5th out of 18, 20 candidates. We actually came in 3rd in Montserrat, ahead of a lot of folks, brown-skinned folks who have been there a long time. In fact, we came in 3rd, I think, in 6 other counties as well. So for a newcomer, we didn't do too badly. And we decided to give it another go in the 2023 elections. I often say, and I've said this on many occasions and publicly, that if President Weah was doing a half-decent job, he would get reelected because he was very popular. But the fact is, and this is not because I'm in opposition, if you look at almost every measurable fact or data point, our country is going backwards. It's just a fact. You may support President Weah or not, doesn't matter, but those are the facts. If you're objective, you look at the facts, the country is going in the wrong direction. And I think it's incumbent upon us to offer the country an alternative. At the end of the day, Liberians will have 3, maybe 4 choices. This time there are no women in the top 3, 4. You will be selecting from among flawed men. None of us are perfect. And I think Liberians will have to make a choice as to where they want the country to go. And the choices are Alexander Cummings, Joseph Boycott, Josh Weah, Tiawan Gonglo perhaps. And that's the choice we're going to have to make in terms of who we think is best prepared and positioned to take the country forward. In terms of how I think about our country and where I think we need to take it, I like to describe Liberia as this bowl of rice we all eat from. You know, some people eat GB, fufu, domo, whatever your food is, but let's say rice because that's a common piece. And that rice represents the opportunities the country provides. We want to build a country where every Liberian has a right to put their hand in our bowl of rice. That has not been true in the history of our country. Initially, the Congo people used to keep the rice for themselves. Fact. Then when President Bill became president, it was mostly the Crown people, not all, but they keep the rice for themselves. Now you're not Tahitian, you can't put your hand in the bowl of rice. We need a country, seriously, where every Liberian has the right to put a hand in that bowl of rice. If you think about this, these are obvious statements I'm going to make, but it's a fact. You do not choose the tribe you're born into. No, not your choice. You don't choose when you're born, so whether you're young or old. You don't choose your gender, whether you're male or female. You don't choose the religion you're born into. And most people, the religion they're born into, they die. Very few people change religion. So those things should not give you any advantage or disadvantage over anybody, because it's not a choice. The kind of Liberia we want is where is your choice, your decision. So the only thing will stop you from eating that bowl of rice is you gotta follow the law. If you don't follow the law, we're not like eating the rice. But that's a choice. You make that choice. You can choose to follow the law or not, to break the rules. The other thing that will limit you is if you're lazy, you're not eating much of the rice. If you're strong and industrious, you eat a lot of rice. But that's also a choice. Those are the only things that should limit you from the opportunities our country provides. And that has not been the history of Liberia. And that's one of the things we all have to, together as a people, we have to agree that this is Liberia we want, where we're not going to discriminate based on tribe and where you were born and your age and your gender, your religion, because that's one of the primary reasons why our country has not moved forward, is because we create all of these divisions that are completely unnecessary. So that's the kind of Liberia we have to all aspire to want to develop. The other thing I said to Liberians, the other thing that has kept us behind is the corruption. But I like to call it stealing because corruption makes it sound nice. Stealing, and the people that steal, these are rogues. We should be clear, we shouldn't make it sound good, right? And this stealing has been in Liberia from the start of the country, unfortunately, right? But that cannot be the reason why it continues. And so when this current government is accused of stealing, and they are, they say, well, the other people did it before. You know, they say, oh, the EGS government did it before. Okay, that's true. But that's why we elected you, so you can do things differently. Right? You can change it. But this corruption thing has been the bane of our existence. And I think it's Albert Einstein said, you cannot keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And that's what we do as a people. You know, we somehow kind of keep repeating, we keep doing it, and then somehow we expect things to change. Of course, that's not going to change. It's not going to happen, right? And so we need to elect people, select people that are going to do things differently, that will bring real change to Liberia, and that are committed to doing that. The other thing I like to remind people is that the best predictor of future behavior, of future performance, is past behavior, past performance. High correlation, right? That's why when you go for a job, they ask for your resume, right? Yep. What have you done? That's right. So I also often remind people, nobody should be surprised at President Weah's performance today. Because President Weah never ran anything before he became president. So President Weah was almost always, not almost, he was always the best player on the teams he played on. And he made all of us proud. He is still, by the way, the only African to have won the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
If you follow football, you know how important that is, right?
Yes.
But he was never the captain of any team he played on, even though he was the best player. Because they gave the captain band to the best leader. To the leader of the team, the leader of men, not to the best player. Good indication of the fact that he was never viewed as the leader of the team, even though he was always the best player. He was in the Senate. Correct me if I'm wrong, the researchers here. I don't think he introduced any bills, right, or co-authored any bills. So we shouldn't be surprised at the performance of the country today. Best predictor of future behavior, future performance, past performance. Fact, right? Now, when we talk about what we want to do in Liberia, everybody knows what we need to fix. You know, what I call the what we need to do. Nobody will argue with that. And all of us who are aspiring to lead Liberia, we talk about the same things, right? We talk about the what's, meaning everybody knows we got to fix infrastructure, right? So infrastructure meaning roads, running water, electricity, and technology, internet connectivity. We need to make sure Liberia is connected. You know, you can ride for hours in the country today and be completely out of cell phone range, completely. You know, you're going from Gabriel, South Buchanan, going to Isaac Home in Riverside, and beyond, dead zone, right? So we gotta fix infrastructure. Everybody knows we gotta fix healthcare. We gotta fix education, right? We gotta invest in agriculture. Just another fact, data. I like data and facts, right? In the budget that was passed, which is almost $800 million. I don't think they'll achieve it, by the way, but it's good aspiration. In 2016, I said our budget should be $1 billion, and the Unity Party people said, "Oh, no way you can get to $1 billion," right? Small thinking, right? But the current budget should be almost $800 million. That budget in agriculture for the whole country allocated $7.5 million. For presidential security, EPS, allocated $10 million. Just give you a sense of the misprioritization of resources. And this is why the country is what it is. We're not allocating the resources appropriately. In addition to stealing, it's not following the priorities. But I think the most important thing is what are we gonna do different to change the trajectory of the country? So in no particular order, the first thing I talk about is that we have to engage hearts and minds. We have to engage Liberians in this transformation. Too often we, as a people, we want somebody else to do the work. You know, and I often say Liberia will not change because we talk it, and we're very good at talking as a people. Liberia will not change because we wish it. Liberia will not change because we pray. We're in a church. Praying is important, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But Liberia will change if we do the work and we make the sacrifice. If we're not prepared to do the work, and I say will, I say I. If we as a people are not prepared to do the work and make the sacrifice, Liberia will not change. It will not change. We'll just keep talking. And we'll keep going around in circles. Every Liberian has to be prepared to work and sacrifice if we want to change the country. And so how we engage hearts and minds, how we engage Liberians to understand that we own this country, that the solutions have to come from us. You know, I hate it when people say, "Oh, we got to go to our, what would I say, our international partners," or some way would I describe it. Yes, we need help, and we will not take help, but we got to own the country. We got to own the problems. We got to come up with the solutions. And then we got to tell our partners that this is how we want you to help us, right? As opposed to they telling us how they want to help us. Right? Now, it's their money, so, you know, it can't be all our way. but we need to be clear on how we're going to fix these differences. So anyway, one of the houses is how you engage hearts and minds. And we want all Liberians to participate in this change we're talking about. And some of the ways you have to be intentional about changing hearts and minds, you got to look at how you use arts and culture, music, theater, religion, sports. All of those things can influence how people think about themselves, country, teamwork, integrity. All of those things can come through those means. And so how we intentionally use those to change hearts and minds, to engage Liberians in transforming Liberia, is something that we're very focused on. The other how, because everything we talk about fixing will require money and funding, right? So the first thing we got to do is we got to stop the stealing. Seriously. Because if we can stop the stealing and we can redeploy the funds, right, you begin to grow the economy, you begin to solve some of the problems. And that's the lowest hanging fruit to find the money, so just stop with stealing and stop the waste in government. And so many ways we can start with stealing. And let me talk about that because corruption has been with us forever. First thing we gotta do is we gotta punish people who steal. Right? Today, in fact, today you can get away with anything like Liberia, by the way, unfortunately. Almost anything. You can rape, kill, you can steal, and you get away with it. You cannot have a country that way. And by the way, diasporans, right? You Canada, the US, go to Liberia and decide to do the same thing. Even though when they hear they follow the rules. I know. Right? But we gotta change that, right? But we gotta stop the steal, we gotta punish people that steal. I tell people if anybody is supporting me because they want a chance to come and chop, or they want a chance to come and play big shot, I'm the wrong guy. I have no interest in that. If you want us to come work together so we can change Liberia, please come and help us. We gotta stop the stealing, we gotta punish people. Then we gotta pay civil servants a living wage. Today, literally, if you do the arithmetic, by the middle of the month, the policeman, the healthcare worker, the teacher, the nurse, the money, they can't pay their rent. By the time they pay rent, tuition, bar, food, money done, gotta pay people a living wage. So no wonder the police will pull you over for a bribe, or the healthcare worker will sell the jobs when they should be paying, or the teacher will take money to change grades, right? We gotta pay people a living wage. This government has what they quote unquote harmonized and reduced civil servants' salaries, and then don't pay them regularly. Of course you're gonna have corruption. But we gotta fix that. That cannot be right? The other thing they've done is they've employed a lot of people. Government, it is not the job creator. The private sector, and we'll get to that. The private sector is where jobs are created. Government enables, creates the environment for the private sector to generate and create jobs, not the government. Wrong construct in Liberia today, everybody in the government. That's not a way to think about it. Gotta grow the private sector. Government should be small, smart, regulate, efficient, effective, and the private sector. In most democracies around the world, here in Canada, the United States, most of the Western European countries, private sector is job creator. Because that way, by the way, you can be critical politically and nobody will punish you. You won't lose your job or whatever because you work for the private sector and not for the government. So now we gotta pay civil servants. Then we gotta simplify rules and regulations. I think we overcomplicate things. And the few people who understand use that knowledge to extract rent, to take money, to take bribes. The example I like to use, and it's meant to be illustrative because it's not as simple as I'll make it sound, but we're going to strive for that if we're successful, is today we import everything we consume in Liberia. Something we need to change, right? But that will take time to produce our food, to manufacture things. So we import everything, yet we make it very complicated to get things to the point. And that's what a lot of the stealing takes place too, right? That's why former head of the National Port Authority was on the U.S. sanctions list. Right? The stealing is just rampant. So when I talk about simplification, one of the things we'll strive for, and it's not as easy because we're part of the the World Trade Organization, ECOWAS. It's not as simple, but is if we said there's a flat rate for every container you bring to the country, no matter what's inside, and you can do the arithmetic, so you know what we get now revenue today. You know the number of containers coming. You do the math, and you say really every container should be $1,000. I make the number up just because it's simple. So no matter what you bring to Liberia, you bring a container at $1,000. That's it. You do that, you pay. Simple. Everybody can understand. So you bring your container in. Nobody will tell you, oh, for the camera is this, for that, it's $1,000. I don't care what's in there. Your custom man cannot hold you hostage because you know, he or she knows. And then if there's money missing, so if there were 10 containers in the morning in the warehouse, at the end of the day, all the containers gone. The customs man owe Liberian government $10,000. If you only get $9,000, you don't need anybody to investigate. You don't need lawyer, accountant. He owe you $1,000. Simple, clear. As an example of how we need to simplify things to help reduce the stealing. If you look at the history of where the Eastern European countries came out from under the communist rule, Estonia, all of these, Lithuania, they went through a process of simplification, reducing the bureaucracy, right? To also get at corruption, to simplify things, make it easy. And you want to make it easy for people to start businesses, right? Get rid of all the rules and regulations. Somebody described Liberia as kind of the dream killer. People go, there's a Liberian, a young Liberian man. This is a true story, recent. In agriculture, he did well, entrepreneur, made some money. He wanted to go and invest in agriculture in Liberia. Last year, so this is not an old story. And the frustration, people wanted money, he went to Kenya, and he's in Kenya today, got a farm, and is investing in Kenya. Fact. And the way I got to know the story, Kenyan lady used to work for me at Coke. And she ran into him and she says, you need to talk to your homeboy here in one of the provinces in Kenya investing in agriculture. And he came to Liberia first to start doing that. But is this corruption, bureaucracy, stealing, all this sort of stuff getting away, and those are things we got to change. The other thing we got to do differently in Liberia is we got to use technology. I'm a big proponent of that. It will help with the stealing, with the corruption. You think about education, for example, right? One of the things we have to focus on in education in Liberia is teachers training at every level. University, because garbage in, garbage out, right? You don't have good teachers, you're not going to get good outcomes. But one example, because it would take time to train teachers, we can use technology for the good ones. So somebody can be in Ganta on Zoom, because I've done it, and you can teach a class in Habo. You teach math, English, whatever it is, right? That's just an example of how we can and should use technology to help. Whether it's in healthcare, agriculture, but we gotta use technology. We gotta bring Liberia into the 21st century, and that means we gotta make sure the country is connected. And so a lot of time, focus, and effort will go into technology because, again, that's one of the ways we can change and transform our country. We gotta invest in tourism, ecotourism, right? As a means of creating jobs, because tourism is service-oriented jobs, right? It doesn't require a lot of training, a lot of teaching, because like it or not, many of our people are functionally illiterate, right? And again, it would take time to fix that. But if we got 350 kilometers of beaches in Liberia, for example, we got falls in Liberia, we got great, big, massive forests. I mean, there are lots of things we can do. Right? And because we don't have the 5-star infrastructure, we talk about ecotourism, so people expect to come and rough it out. They're not looking for, electricity, right? Because it's a challenge in Liberia. But tourism, ecotourism, we can generate foreign exchange earnings for the country, we can create jobs, and it can be a win-win-win. So something we will focus on. as one of the hows in terms of how we can change and transform our country.